The night Marcus Hale decided kindness was worth more than exhaustion, he had already convinced himself he was done with people. Done with overtime shifts that bled into dawn. Done with bosses who smiled in meetings and vanished when paychecks needed explaining. Done with a world that always seemed to ask for more from a man who already had nothing left to give. But life, as Marcus was learning the hard way, never really cared what a man was done with. It was just past midnight in downtown Seattle when he saw her. At first, she looked like just another problem the city had spilled onto the sidewalk. A woman in a tailored coat that cost more than Marcus's monthly rent, leaning against a closed cafe window like gravity had suddenly become personal. Her heel was broken. Her hair, usually so carefully styled in boardroom neatness, was falling loose around her face. She was laughing at nothing, then suddenly not laughing at all. Marcus slowed his steps. He recognized her before he admitted it to himself. Evelyn Carter, CEO of Carter Dynamics, his boss, the kind of woman whose emails started with "per my last message" and ended with people losing sleep. And she was drunk. Not mildly. Not discreetly. The kind of drunk that turns confidence into something fragile and human. Seriously? Marcus muttered under his breath. He adjusted the strap of his worn backpack. He had just finished a 14-hour maintenance shift at one of her company's commercial buildings. He was supposed to be heading home to his 8-year-old daughter, Lily, who had probably fallen asleep waiting for him again. He kept walking. That would have been the smarter choice. Then Evelyn stumbled off the curb and nearly fell into traffic. Marcus reacted before thought caught up. He grabbed her arm, pulling her back onto the sidewalk as a car honked and sped past, splashing water across the curb. "Hey, careful," he said sharply. She blinked up at him, eyes unfocused, trying to assemble his face from memory. "You're the maintenance guy," she said slowly, as if identifying a distant object. "Yeah," Marcus replied. "And you're about to become a headline." She laughed again, but it cracked halfway through. "I don't make headlines. You'd be surprised." She swayed. He sighed, looked around the empty street, and made a decision he knew he'd regret in the morning. "Where's your car?" "I don't need a car," she said, offended by the idea. "I need air." "You've had enough air," Marcus said. "Come on." She resisted only briefly before exhaustion won. He guided her toward a bench under a flickering streetlight, sitting her down before she collapsed completely. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The city hummed around them, distant sirens, late-night traffic, the soft pulse of neon signs refusing to sleep. "You shouldn't be out here alone," Marcus said finally. Evelyn tilted her head. "Neither should you." That stopped him. Something about the way she said it, less like a command, more like an observation, made him glance at her again. Up close, she didn't look like the woman from conference rooms and glass towers. She looked tired. Not the kind of tired that sleep fixes, the kind that collects over years. "I'm fine," Marcus said automatically. "No one who says that is fine," she replied, closing her eyes. He should have left then. He knew that. He had a child at home, bills waiting, a life that didn't include sitting on sidewalks with intoxicated executives. But when Evelyn's head tilted forward dangerously, he sighed again and steadied her shoulder. "Just sit. I'll call you a ride." "I don't trust rides," she murmured. "I don't trust my boss drunk on a sidewalk," he shot back. That made her laugh for real this time, and for a brief moment, something between them softened. When the ride finally arrived, Marcus didn't leave until she was inside the car. He gave the driver instructions, checked the address on her phone when she couldn't unlock it properly, and stood under the streetlight until the taillights disappeared into the wet city glow. Then he went home and told himself it didn't matter. The next morning, Marcus was late. Lily's school drop-off, a broken water heater at a client site, and 2 missed calls from his supervisor had already stacked into a familiar kind of chaos. He was halfway through tightening a pipe when his phone buzzed again. Unknown number. He almost ignored it. Then he answered. "Marcus Hale?" A calm voice said. "Yes. This is Carter Dynamics. Ms. Carter would like to see you in her office this morning." He paused. "Is this about last night?" A short silence. She didn't specify. That should have been warning enough. The elevator ride to the top floor felt longer than any shift Marcus had ever worked. The glass walls of Carter Dynamics. Headquarters showed him a city he didn't belong to. Clean lines, expensive silence. People who looked like they had never had to choose between rent and groceries. When the doors opened, Evelyn Carter was waiting. But she wasn't the same woman from the sidewalk. This Evelyn was sharp again, controlled, impeccably, dressed in a charcoal suit that made last night feel like a hallucination. Marcus almost questioned whether he had imagined it. "Marcus," she said evenly. "Come in." He stepped inside, uneasy. The office was too bright, too quiet. She gestured to a chair. He stayed standing. "I assume this is about last night," he said. Her gaze didn't waver. "Yes." A pause stretched. Marcus braced for the worst. Security footage, HR violations, some polite corporate version of dismissal. Instead, she said, "Thank you." 2 words. Simple, undramatic, completely unexpected. Marcus blinked. "That's it?" "That's not all," she replied. She walked to the window, looking out over the city. "I remember everything." Something in his chest tightened. "You were pretty out of it." "I was," she admitted, "but not enough to forget falling into traffic." Silence settled again. Marcus shifted slightly. "Anyone would have helped?" "No," she said quietly, turning back to him. "They wouldn't have." That honesty hit harder than anything else. Evelyn sat down across from him, finally letting the corporate mask slip just a fraction. "I don't usually lose control like that," she said. "Or maybe I do. Just not in places people can see." Marcus didn't respond. He wasn't sure what role he was supposed to play in this conversation. She studied him for a moment. "I read your file this morning." That made him stiffen. "My file? Maintenance contractor. Single father. Late payments flagged twice in payroll systems. Overdue hours you never complained about." Marcus felt exposed in a way that had nothing to do with clothing or walls. "I don't need," he started. "I know," she interrupted softly. "That's the problem." The room fell still. Then she did something he didn't expect. She stood up, walked to her desk, and slid a folder across to him. Inside were documents, a formal employment offer, full-time facilities management position, benefits, higher pay, flexible hours. Marcus stared at it. "Why?" Evelyn didn't hesitate. "Because last night I learned something about my company." He looked up. She continued, "I build systems that run efficiently, but I don't actually see the people keeping them running." A pause. "And I should have fallen," she added quietly. "But you didn't let me." Marcus closed the folder slightly, overwhelmed. "You don't owe me this." "No," she said. "I don't, that's the point." For the first time, her voice softened in a way that felt real. "I'm not pretending I don't remember," she said. "And I'm not pretending I don't care." Marcus looked down at the offer again. It wasn't just money. It was stability, breathing room, a way to stop counting every dollar before the month ended. But it also felt like something heavier, like consequence. "I don't want charity," he said finally. Evelyn's expression sharpened slightly. "It's not charity. It's accountability, mine." That word hung between them. Accountability. Not pity, not guilt, ownership. Marcus exhaled slowly. For the first time in a long time, he didn't know what the right decision was. 3 weeks later, Marcus was still adjusting to mornings that didn't feel like drowning. Lily noticed first. "You smile more?" she said one day over cereal. "I do not," Marcus replied. "You do," she insisted. "It's weird." He laughed despite himself. Work was different, too. Not easier, but steadier. People knew his name now, not just his job title. And Evelyn Carter, his boss, the woman he had once pulled back from traffic, no longer pretended he was invisible in meetings. Sometimes, after long days, she would walk down to the facilities floor instead of sending emails, not to supervise, just to talk. One evening, as the building emptied and the city outside turned gold with sunset, she leaned against a counter beside Marcus. "You could have kept walking that night," she said. Marcus didn't look up from his toolbox. "So could you." She nodded slowly. "I think that's the part I can't stop thinking about." A quiet beat passed between them. Then Marcus said, "People don't always stay where they're supposed to." Evelyn glanced at him. "Maybe that's the problem with systems. They assume they do." For a moment, neither of them spoke. Outside, the city kept moving, unaware, indifferent, alive. Inside, something had shifted quietly between two people who should have never mattered to each other, and neither of them tried to pretend they had forgotten.